Hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Isha Khalid and I have with me Miss Hibatabani, Barrister Hibatabani actually, and we're both faculty members here at Zabist in the law department. And we're here today to talk to you a little bit about the law program, just to answer some frequently asked questions, basic information, everything you basically need to know if you're interested in studying law and if you want to enroll in the LLB program and the CertHE program that we offer. So, Hiba, first question for you. What is the nature of this program? What is the program like?
So this is a University of London degree program, and we offer two separate programs by the University of London. But I think what's important to keep in mind is that these are internationally recognized degrees and not locally offered law programs.
Right, and how long does it take to complete the degree?
So it's ideally about 3 years, or on average we would say it's 3 years, but there is the option of doing it in a shorter time span of 2 years if you have a postgraduate degree already. Or the other option is you could do it in a longer time span. So if you're somebody who's working and wants to break down your subjects over a longer time period, you can do this in 6 years as well.
So that way you keep a lighter burden.
Absolutely.
And you take your time, you take your own sweet time finishing it, right?
Absolutely.
So when the students eventually do complete the courses, right, what degree are they getting? Is it a diploma? Is it a certificate? What is it?
So that depends on what program they're registered in, but if you're enrolled in the LLB program, then you get a degree. And as we said, that is an internationally recognized degree by the University of London. But on the other hand, if you're somebody who's enrolled in the Certificate of Higher Education in Common Law program, then that is a diploma. And at the completion of that program, you would get a diploma or a certification in hand.
Right. I think one of the most common questions that we get, and one of the area of confusion that is generally all across, is the difference between the program that Zabist is offering and the local program that is that's 5 years long, right? And this question that they ask us is, how do you do it in 3 years? What are you doing wrong? What is missing? So if you could just clarify that, what is this difference, right?
So the local program is basically something which offers or which teaches Pakistani law, whereas the internationally recognized program that we offer, the University of London program, is one where you study British law that is based in the UK. And that's really your primary difference. Obviously, other than that, you have the difference of one being slightly shorter, being 3 years in length, whereas some universities which offer the local program, that is a 5-year program. So we would really encourage that, depending on what program you're interested in, you should be sure that you look up the requirements of the specific university to make sure that you're applying to the correct program.
So that's the kind of research that they'll have to take on their part. Right. Okay, another question that we get a lot since we've introduced CertHE is students asking us, what is LLB, what is CertHE, what is the difference, what do I apply for?
I think these are excellent questions and questions you should be asking if you're considering applying. So in short, the LLB is a degree program. At the end of 3 years, you get a degree in your hand, which obviously then you can use to apply for either further studies or for a job. The CertHE program is a shorter diploma or certification program. It's for 1 year. In reality or in essence, we would say it's probably not very different from the LLB, I suppose, Isha. Because, at the end of the day, the students who are studying the certificate program are studying the exact same courses that they would be studying in the first year of the LLB. And here at Zabist, actually, many of the same teachers teach courses both on the CertHE and on the LLB program. So perhaps in reality, not much of a difference. You are studying the same courses by the same teachers, but it is not a degree. At the end of the day, when you complete your courses and you give your exams, and if you successfully pass all your exams, you get a certification in your hand. Now, what good is that certification? Why would somebody apply for that? That is excellent for people who want to apply for the LLB program, but for some reason don't perhaps meet the admissions requirements, right? So what are the admissions requirements? We'll come on to that. But essentially, people perhaps who are from an intermediate background and have not done A-levels could apply for the CertHE program and then use that as a stepping stone to then transfer into the LLB program and into the second year of the LLB program. So you're not adding an extra year on, it's not like the foundation program, and you can still complete your LLB in 3 years and get a degree.
I think that is key. The fact that even with CertHE, you can complete your degree in 3 years, just like LLB.
Absolutely.
I think that's the most important point.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to backtrack a little, because when I asked you how long it takes you to complete the degree, you said generally 3 years, but sometimes it can take 2 years also. And I'm sure everybody out there, whoever is watching, have that question, how? I mean, we're Pakistanis, right? Want to make it, get the responses we can. So if you could just elaborate on that a little bit, who
Sure.
can finish this degree in 2 years?
Sure.
Who qualifies for it?
Sure. So essentially, two types of people qualify to do the degree in 2 years. If you're somebody who has done a 4-year undergraduate degree already, you are somebody who could qualify to apply for what we call the graduate entry route. And the graduate entry route is one where you can complete the LLB program in 2 years and take a slightly lighter course load. So basically, you would be somebody who would take 9 courses over the course of 2 years rather than 12 courses over the course of 3 years. So, in essence, we're looking for somebody who has done a postgraduate. Okay, now what if you don't have a 4-year undergraduate degree? The other option is that you have a 2-year undergraduate degree followed by a 2-year master's program. In either of these scenarios, you would become eligible to apply for the graduate entry route.
Great. Right. Let's assume got an admission, enrolled, graduated, LLB done. What are the post-grad studying options that are available for students? Because that's something they're confused about. That okay, fine, LLB kar liya, ab kya karna hai? Right?
Sure.
Ab kya padna hai?
Well, actually, there's a lot of options. You could choose to go for a master's program, which is what we call the LLM degree. Many different programs all over the world offer different forms of LLM degrees. You could do, your master's in law either specialized, or you could choose to do a generalized one, which allows you to take sort of more courses. Otherwise, you could do any other master's as well, right? You could choose to go into literature, history. It's really, the world is your oyster. But then obviously coming on to, I think, what people really want to hear, which is becoming a barrister. You could go and do your bar professional training course abroad. You could go for the legal practitioner's course. You could go to the UK and qualify as a barrister solicitor there. So because it's an internationally recognized degree, you actually have the option of being able to take the same degree without worrying about equivalency, and being able to use that degree to apply to universities abroad, whether it is for a professional training diploma, for example, the bar, or whether it is for another degree like a master's.
Right. Also, I think related but slightly different is the question that, generally there's this perception that once you've studied law, all you're going to do in your life is wear a kala coat and go before a judge and plead, Judge Saab, Your Honor, my Lord, right? Everything that we've seen on TV. So when we know for a fact that's not true, right? There is so much more that you can professionally do after you've gotten your LLB degree. So we could talk a little bit about that. What are those professional avenues that open up, those opportunities that students have once they've completed their LLB?
Yeah. We often say, and I think we say this too often on our webinars, that the world is your oyster, but it's true. It really is. When you get this degree in hand. So the most popular, obviously, route is to go into litigation. That is, the Kala court. So then you would want to appear in court, you would want to take cases, you would want to appear before a judge. But many people decide that that's not a life that they want to live. That's not their interest, which is fine. You can go into corporate practice. You could go to a firm which works with corporate clients. You can, work on contracts. You can work on, agreements and their whatever their internal management is for. You could assist, the company in working with that. You could go in-house, which means that you could work specifically with one company and assist them with the work that they do. Or, of course, other than that, there's so many options. You could go into academia, you can go into research. There are so many NGOs now that work, that are doing research on important social, legal issues that are affecting all of us on a day-to-day basis. Politics is another one. I think we have a lot of Zabist graduates who've gone into politics. And obviously, as we understand, there is a very clear link between law and politics. So, you could go into government service. Many students take the CSS exams. So really, there's just a lot of option, I think, in front of you.
Also, because of the variety of things that you can do and because of how interesting this question really is, and the answer to this is, I think we will have another session, a detailed session on this, and we'll talk about.
Absolutely.
We'll get our faculty members on board, we'll get our alumni on board, and we'll talk about the kind of things that everybody's been doing and the interesting things that you can do. So stay tuned for that. We'll definitely have another webinar. We'll announce it on our social media. So coming towards, we've spoken about law generally. Let's talk about Zabist.
Right.
So when did Zabist start offering this program?
Zabist started offering this program a whopping 20 years ago in 2002. And at the time, it was actually one of the first universities to begin offering this University of London program. And since then, of course, we've been offering it for the last 20 years, and we have a huge alumni base in Karachi and all over Pakistan and the world. Actually, we have many of our alumni sitting in, I believe, Geneva with the United Nations, and in all sorts of international organizations all over the world now.
Absolutely. And being a 20-year-old institute, what kind of recognition do we have? Do we have any recognition from higher authorities in Pakistan?
Absolutely. So I think obviously the most important one that students should be aware of is recognition by the HEC, the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. And the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan has awarded the law program at Zabist an NOC, which means that it is a recognized program, and we have the right to not just teach this program, but also to then be affiliated with the University of London and to be able to give that degree.
Great. So I think we understand about the law, we understand about the different routes. This question is specifically for, I think, students who still haven't made up their mind, right?
Sure.
They're still thinking that, okay, law, do we do it, do we not do it, is it for
Right.
me? So we all understand what law is, but I don't think the normal person understands exactly what they're signing up for when they're
Sure.
actually registering for the LLB, right?
That's
so if
true.
you could just, of course, we can't go into the details of all the courses that they do. We know that there are 12 courses that you need to do on the LLB. But if you could just maybe give a little bit of a brief, overview of the kind of courses that
Yeah.
you do in the first year, that this is what you're in for, this is what you're going to be studying, and this is what you will be assessed on.
So in the first year, you're essentially doing 4 courses, core courses. I would emphasize here that I think unlike many other degree programs where you have multiple courses that you study for short spans of time, at the LLB program, I think what is interesting is that you have the same 4 courses that you study throughout the year from start to finish. Those 4 courses for your first year are public law or constitutional law. We have legal systems and methods, or which we used to know as common law. There's obviously contract law and criminal law. So these are sort of your foundational courses, right? Constitutional law, an understanding of how the UK's constitution works, right? The constitution being the bedrock of any country. Criminal law, obviously, I'm a little biased, but perhaps the most exciting course.
Oh, I concur.
Yeah. So, criminal law, you understand about criminal justice systems. Why do you have them? Why do you need them? How do they work? We have contract law. Contracts, again, the basis of pretty much all transactions on a day-to-day basis. And legal systems and methods, important. Isha would know, very important, because of the fact that that is the understanding of how the English legal system works. And without that, obviously, you would not be able to progress further in this degree.
You made criminal law, so Hiba Tawani, of course, teaches criminal law, and you made it sound so dry. You learn about the criminal law system. No, you find out what murder is. You find out what the definition of murder is. You find out what the defenses to murder are.
That is true.
Find out what manslaughter is. What's the difference between murder and manslaughter? You find out the ingredients of rape and the defenses and theft. So yes,
Absolutely.
extremely interesting. That's the kind of stuff that you study. So that's all nice. It's interesting to study all of that. How do you get examined on it? What is the mode of assessment? How do you know you've made it?
So we assess, or rather we don't assess, but University of London manages assessments and examinations. You basically have one exam, a final exam that comes around at the end of the year. And fortunately or unfortunately, that makes up basically 100% of your grade. Which I suppose is, good or bad, however you look at it. But there is one assessment. Personally at Zabist, we obviously understand that that's a really big assessment, and given that your whole grade depends on it. So we do have our internal assessments as well. We prep you for the final. So we have a midterm examination in December and then a mock examination in March, which means that by the time that you sit for University of London degree assessment, you're actually well prepared as to what it means to sit in a timed assessment.
Absolutely. So it's pretty much, just to build on to what you said, it's basically like your OA level system.
Yeah, very much so.
Where your exams at the end of the year are basically what contribute towards the degree that you eventually receive, right?
Right.
The midterms and the mock is all, it's going towards your prep for the actual exam. And that exam is going to be in
May and June.
May and June.
So May and June of each year we have final examinations. So again, very similar, I think, to the Cambridge system.
Absolutely, very similar to the Cambridge system. And another question that we get a lot is, what are the class timings like?
So actually that's very interesting. Historically, we've always had evening classes, but this year, perhaps what's really important to keep in mind is that for the first time, we're offering the option to apply to either an afternoon or an evening program. So that means that if you would prefer to come in the evening, you can come for classes at our timings, which are 6 to 9:30 in the evening. However, if you're somebody who would prefer to do classes during the day, we're actually offering the LLB and the CertHE program from 3 to 6 p.m. as well. So, and in fact, for anybody who is applying, when you go onto our online portal, the application portal, you will actually see the options with the class timing. So you can choose whatever class timing suit you best.
Right, and timeline in the sense of, when does the semester begin? Do we have semesters? What is it like?
We don't have a semester system. We have sort of a term system in the sense that we have 2 terms. The first term runs from September until December. And December is when you have your midterm examinations, and we break for a short while for winter break. We come back in January and have our second term, which runs from January to April. So in that sense, we kind of have 2 terms, but again, I would emphasize, unlike local programs, you're not studying different courses in the 2 terms. You're studying the same course, which runs throughout from September onwards.
You just get a short, sweet break in December.
In December.
A very short, sweet break. Right, okay, moving on to the most lethal question of all. What are the admission requirements? How do I know I can get in?
Right. That's obviously a tricky one, but we'll try to keep it simple. So essentially, if you are somebody with an O and A levels background, you are probably eligible to apply for the LLB degree program, which means that you can directly apply for the degree program. However, if you're somebody who does not have A levels, perhaps only has O levels, or has gone through the metric and intermediate examination system, then that means that you're eligible to apply for the CertHE, right? The CertHE program, again, to emphasize for anybody who's watching, is a diploma program which allows you to complete and then transfer directly into the second year of the LLB. I would also emphasize, again, the graduate entry route. If there are people who have done an undergraduate or a postgraduate degree, you might be eligible for the graduate entry route. And finally, if you have done your intermediate and then followed by that, you have done a 2-year undergraduate degree, for example, your BA, then you would be eligible to apply for the LLB degree program. You do not need to go for CertHE in that case. So I think that's as simple as one can make it, but obviously we are always available to answer your questions. Our admissions department is open. So if you have specific questions you want to ask about your case, you're more than welcome to approach us at any time.
Right. And again, leading on, talking about the admission system this year, what's the process like for this year? Is there a test? Is there an interview?
Yeah.
And again, timeline for that, because people want to know, they want to lock down dates.
Of course. So admissions are currently open. They are going to be open till the 24th of June. So you have a couple more weeks. You fill out an online application form, and then you would have to come to our admissions office on campus in order to receive your admit card. The admit card basically entitles you to sit for the admissions test here at Zabist. If you are a CertHE applicant, then you would also have to sit for a University of London test, again here at Zabist. That would be taking place physically. After you have gone through the admissions test part, then you would come on to your interviews. Interviews would be taking place in the end of the first week of July, so around the 5th of July onwards. And interviews are taking place through a panel. You basically come in. They're not scary, we promise. We just want to get a chance to know you better and to understand why it is that you want to do law. So yeah, we have our admissions test followed by an interview, and then you get your offer letters and results for successful candidates.
Right, and term begins around?
Terms begins in the first week of September. So we have a little bit of time before that, but the reason for that obviously is that we get our A-level grades by August, so by the time people get their grades and are able to meet their offers, then we start term after that.
Right. Another question that we get a lot, and again, I want to put this out there to clarify to everyone, the fees that they pay, the fees that students pay.
Yeah.
To explain the fee, of course, we can't do that at this point, but we have a breakdown of the fee chart on the website, so you can refer to that. You can also message us on our Facebook page, or you can email us, or you can of course walk in, and we're happy to guide you through the fee chart and break it down for you, convert it for you, and let you know exactly what we're paying and how much you're paying and for what, right? But again, the basic question that I'm trying to ask you is that, is the fee being paid to Zabist or is it being paid to University of London?
So it's a mix. Essentially, you pay your tuition fees to Zabist because this is where you're getting your instruction throughout the year. But much of the rest of your fees goes directly to University of London, and that is paid in pounds, right? So your registration fee goes to University of London, your examination fee goes to University of London, and your application fee, or rather your registration with the University of London also goes there. So it is a little bit of a breakdown. Unfortunately, it's not sort of a single payment. We do have separate payments, or rather University of London has separate payments over the course of the year. But again, I think we have a very clear fee structure on the website, which people can refer to if they want to check that.
Absolutely. Finally, I think we've covered the basics,
Yeah.
right? I think we've answered all the questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them down in the comments and we'll be happy to answer them. But before we go, Hiba, since you've studied at Zabist as well, I mean, I have too, but I'm the one asking questions. I can, directly ask you this.
Yeah.
What has made your experience at Zabist so special?
So, I mean, for anybody who's watching, Isha and I have been around for a while. Zabist is very much like family to us. And I think for me, since you're asking the question, that is, I think, what was most important to me. That over here, when I came here, it was not, we didn't have a teacher-student relationship with our teachers, but our teachers became our mentors. They became people who we worked with even after we graduated. And I always came back to Zabist as kind of the base. Because it gave that environment, or it gave me that space to not just sort of be myself, but also it gave me the support system that I needed, even post-graduation, even when it was with regard to my first cases. I remember I came back and I spoke to my teachers at that time and told them about the cases I was taking on. And even today, like, that's, I think, what we hope to cultivate, right? The open door policy and making sure that we're not necessarily just your teachers. I mean, obviously we're there to teach, but that's not the entirety of our role. We want to try to make it obviously as close-knit as possible.
Absolutely.
And I imagine that that's the reason that you stayed.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't have put it better myself.
So I think that pretty much covers everything. If anybody has questions, I will emphasize that our admissions department is open. Zabist campuses are open. You can come any day, Monday to Friday, from 9 to 5, and meet our admissions officers. We are on campus during the evenings, so if anybody wants to meet with us, our email addresses are on the website. You're welcome to email us personally. Other than that, we are happy to take any questions, on Facebook. And so, yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. So it was lovely having everyone here. We hope this was helpful, and we hope to see all of you soon here on
Absolutely.
campus.
And thank you so much, Hiba, for answering all the questions that I put out to you. Literally
You're
every
most
single thing I
welcome.
could think of. But yes, thank you for being here. Thank you guys for watching, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Dafis.